Welcome back! My name is Ballerscuba. This is Video Games Over Time. We are still in 1985. Today, we're going to talk about International Karate. The story of International Karate takes us to System 3. System 3 is a British video game developer founded in 1982. Their first game was a port of Colony 7, a 1981 Atari arcade shooter, to Atari computers. After that, the company focused more on the British computer market. International Karate is a fighting game. The player plays as a martial artist. Their goal is to land hits on their opponents, earning either a half point or a full point as a result. The first to 2 points will win. As the player defeats opponents, the opponent's belts will change from white to black, following the established tradition of karate. Between each fight, the player will play mini-games, primarily focusing on the player's timing. The player will also travel internationally, fighting their opponents in front of iconic landscapes around the world. System 3 released International Karate to the ZX Spectrum in November 1985. That is a brief backstory to International Karate. With that told, it's time to play the game for ourselves. And here we are in the game. This is International Karate. As you can see, copyright System 3 software. Apparently they reserve the right to change this product without prior notice. Never seen that before. But there's not really a lot to this game. It is a fairly straightforward game that reminds me of several other games we have played before. So we're going to start a one-player game. I'm going to play on the keyboard. It's the only way that I've been able to make this make sense. So we will try. I'm not good at these games, but we'll do what I can. Let's get in and see what I can do. Basically, there are 9 buttons to control. I can either hold the button and hit a direction, or I can hit a direction and those will all do different moves. Some of them will turn me around. It's fun. Let's see what we can do. All right. Let's head in, walk over, and there we go. Landed a hit. Looks like a full point for me. Let's try that again. Just walk over and sidekick. Oh, it's a half point. Okay. Walk over and sidekick. Now, hopefully, as we keep going, they will get a little bit better. Oh. Another sidekick wins it for me. Red gets me all these points, and then we will move on. Now, I was told that as you play, the belts will change color, but I don't see that happening. Maybe it's just in certain versions of the game, but not in the ZX Spectrum version. It can't handle it, maybe? I'm not sure how he hit me there. Not entirely sure. Sidekick! No! No! I haven't figured out a good way to turn around yet. I think it is hold the button and back does it for me. Walk up and sidekick. It does the trick like 60% of the time. So I'm always going to try it. Hey, once again, I'm not entirely sure why my hit landed and his didn't. Maybe mine was a little bit sooner than his. You know, the sidekick is very strong. There we go. Sidekick does the trick. We're in Egypt, by the way, if you can't tell from the Sphinx. And red wins this round, and I just instantly get hit. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. Congratulations, we now fly to Japan. All right, let's go. And then, yeah, I'm told that their belts would change, but that probably depends on the version of the game that you're playing. And I'm playing the original, which probably doesn't have that happen. Maybe I'm a red belt and they're a white belt, and once again, maybe that'll change, but I don't think so, not in this version. Yeah, if he somersaults behind me, there's not a lot that I'm going to be able to do. I'm trying to figure out how to turn around effectively, but basically you have to do a move that turns you around, and I haven't figured out the good move for that. How is any of that not landing? Like, he should have hit me like 4 times. I should have hit him like 3 times. I'm not entirely sure. All right, let's go forward and kick and... no! All right, no! I did turn around, but not fast enough. Yeah, he is destroying me. I can take on the Egyptian, but I can't take on the Japanese guy. Come on, let's do what I can. No, somersault again. No, he kicked me in the back of the shin. Yeah, I get destroyed. All right, so that is the game at least played a little bit. Like I said, I struggle with this version of the game. So what I'm going to do, which I haven't done before, is I'm going to play a different version as well. We're going to play the Commodore 64 version, which is the much more recognized version as the better version. So, this is the original. Wanted to play it. I'm not very good at it. We're gonna move on. I'll see you there. And here we are in the game. This is International Karate, as you can see, released in 1986, so just 1 year later, and it is a much better version of the game. Now, it takes a while for it to load, so once I hit the button, we will be back, and I will show you guys the rest of the game. But here we go! Commodore 64 version. Let's get in. There we go, and here is our first menu. We have 2 different journeys that we can do. We can start in Sydney or in Egypt. I'm going to start in Australia. That just makes more sense to me. I will say that the names that we saw on the title screen, they are for a different company. They're not for System 3. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but a different company made this port of the game. But we are going to do the first journey. We'll reset it, and then I can get into the game, hit F1 for one person fight. Oh, look how much better this looks. So much better. Let's go ahead and let the demo play a little bit. The controls in this game are going to be the same as they were in the first one. And as you can see, it's a little funky making that work, but we'll see what we can do. Let's get into the game. And we will begin. Really? Oh, the controls in this are so much better. I get to use the joystick, and the joystick works, and everything works so much better. There we go. Give me the point. I'm not sure why it's only a half point, but I'll take it. Oh, that's a full point right there. Giant roundhouse kick. There we go. I don't know why that's still a half point there. Some of the moves, you know, they give you full points and half points depending on how it lands, right? Ow, how dare you. So it's still just like hold the button and jump. Come on. I feel like I landed that. All right. I have like 1.5 points. Come on, dude. Now we're two. How? Like, some of these moves have certain distances, and I'm still trying to figure out. There. That one's a full point. Because he walked into it? I'm not sure. I'm not yet. And red wins because of a timeout. Match is over. And red won. And I made it onto the high score list because there isn't a high score list. But I'm still a white belt. So this is where the belt kind of comes into play. It's not on the sprite. It's on like the high score list, I guess. But we'll try again because this one's a lot more fun to play. This one is a lot more intuitive. So let's go ahead and play again. Are they going to let me do it? There we go. Nope, the demo's playing. I have to hit the button again. There we go. How dare you? Yeah, it's a lot smoother. It's a lot faster. It just makes more sense on the Commodore 64 version. I'm still struggling a bit, but... Was that a cross shot? Yeah, okay. If I land that drop down punch, it's a crotch shot. Like, I can't figure out the distances. And red wins. And that's just the end of that. Match is over. Like, already. I don't deserve anything for that. That was awful. So let's do that again and try to do it one more time, but I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to do. It's just kind of too fast for me on this one, and I can't get a sense of the controls. What? Why? Why? I kicked him in the face. Why did he get points? That's it? Yep, that's it. Okay, yeah, we're just gonna move on then. I am terrible at this game no matter which version I'm playing. So that is the game played, and with the gameplay, it's time to talk about how it holds up today. Playing the game today, International Karate is a bit of a mixed bag for me. While I felt like I had less control of my character in the ZX Spectrum version of the game, I had a better sense of when shots were going to land, and frankly, a little bit better sense of when it was going to be a half point or a full point in that version of the game, but it was so slow, the graphics were bad, and like that, it just felt like a worse version of the game, but I did better with it because I felt more in control of my character. In the Commodore 64 version, it's technically better. We have much better graphics, we have better sound, the gameplay is a lot faster, but it didn't feel like I was in control of my character, and it felt like I kept on landing shots that didn't count. I would hit people 2 or 3 times, nothing, and then suddenly I do the same move and it lands and I win. It's a different system. And I will say that this is not the first game that I've played that basically functions exactly like this game, right? It's hard not to look at Kung Fu Master and Way of the Exploding Fist, which I also felt was just kind of a copy of an earlier game. And this one just feels pretty much exactly the same as that. It's hard to look at these two different versions of the game, the ZX Spectrum and the Commodore 64 version, and go, yes, this is the same game. But then look at the Commodore 64 version of International Karate and Way of the Exploding Fist and go, no, those are two different games. It just feels like the same game again. With that said, there's a little bit different. There's a little bit more kind of window dressing on this game. You get the mini games that I'm terrible at. You get to move between different areas and different backgrounds. But ultimately, the control scheme, I think, is what holds the game back. The fact that I don't know if I explained it fully, but the way that the controls work is that the joystick has 8 directions, if you don't hold the button down, that joystick will basically do 8 different moves. Granted, 2 of them are just moving, but in the 8 different directions, do 8 different moves is essentially what happens. And then if you hold the button down and then move the joystick, that does 8 other moves. So there's like 16 moves that you can do in the game. And that's frankly kind of awkward. It doesn't function the way that I would want it to function. I want the button to do a move and the joystick to give it a direction. Instead, it's basically like the joysticks do move and the button is more or less like a shift button on a keyboard, and it changes what button you press. And it's awkward, and it's not the way that I think about games, not the way that I think about fighting games. So it was awkward for me. It's still awkward for me. And frankly, I don't fully understand the point system to this point. I still don't understand what counts as a half point, what counts as a full point, and what counts as nothing. Like, I kicked the guy in the face several times and didn't get any points. Why? Because he wasn't in the middle of a move? That doesn't seem right. But in terms of how this game holds up today, it is a fighting game, and the fighting game genre will change over time drastically. And I think there's a big improvement is what I'm trying to say. the later games are much better in terms of aging, much better in terms of gameplay, much better in terms of graphics and sound and control schemes, that this one feels very dated as a result. And the fact that this is more or less, I think, the third version of this game. It could be even the fourth version of basically this same system that we have done. This one just feels like nothing special. Maybe it's a little bit better than Way of the Exploding Fist, but they're basically on par for me. This one just has a little bit better things in terms of backgrounds, at least in the Commodore 64 version, and there's a little bit more variety, but ultimately this is a game that I think would only be best played with a second player. I feel like it's not really that good for one player games because it's just kind of funky how it works, and it's hard if you're by yourself. It's more frustrating if you're by yourself, and if you're with another person, then it's more funny. But in terms of recommendation, it's really only for people that are interested in the history of fighting games in particular and want to look at games before the giant upgrade that is to come, that we won't talk too much more about because it's going to be, a couple years down the line. But ultimately, if you are interested in the history of fighting games, this one might have something for you, but ultimately, this is just kind of another entry in the Kung Fu Master Way of the Exploding Fist kind of genre of games, I guess, that all feel very similar. So this one could easily be skipped. And that's my modern take on the game. When the game was released, International Karate would be popular. The game would be ported by Epix to the Commodore 64 in 1986. Epix would release that version in America with the name changed to World Karate Championship. There it became the first European-developed game to top the Billboard software sales charts. It would go on to sell over 1.5 million copies in the United States. Critics at the time were relatively positive about the game. While the game was seen as a clone of Karate Champ, the gameplay in the Commodore 64 version was still seen as good. The ZX Spectrum version, however, was not received quite as fondly. International Karate would see successors of sorts. We will keep an eye on that as we continue. As for System 3, they would continue to create video games. We will hear from System 3 again, if perhaps only briefly. That will do it for the story of International Karate for now. My name is Ballerscuba. This has been Video Games Over Time. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in our next video when we take to the pitch.